Alrighty, we're going to give it 1 second to breathe while Bawana gets up the other Facebook, waiting for that green check mark. I see his thumb there, so I guess we're good to go. Hello, guys. Carl, I'll kick it off to you, actually. Huh? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. I'm great. Anytime we get to be here for building the Broncos and talk about the Broncos, and especially we have a topic today that deals with how you build a team or don't build a team in some ways, I guess you could say. And so it is. It's an exciting day for a lot of different reasons, but always a great time to get to talk some football for at least an hour here, and especially with you, man.
And I got to say, listeners, anybody's listening right now, this might be the first time that I have better facial hair than Carl. So let it be known. I know that the world is, going to be a chaos tonight. So just know that Carl did this on purpose to mess with you guys. So if you want to hold it against me, you can. Also wants to, I guess, kick it off with this. Obviously, we know there is a big election going on right now. We are going to keep it far from politics in here. I know that's hard to do. We would appreciate if you guys did so in the chat as well, because that can really bring out some ugliness. And we're going to offer this as an escape. So if you guys are in for the politics today and doom scrolling Twitter, so be it. Just we ask that you respect this platform and do it elsewhere. So love you guys. Thank you so much. And also, we love our sponsor today. Today's live stream podcast is brought to you by sportsbetting.com. Broncos country gambling is now legal in the great state of Colorado. And here's what makes sportsbetting.com a no-brainer for all sports fans. They have sharp odds and low juice. They have in-house bookmakers, and they don't use a third-party provider of odds. They also have reduced juice and the best prices. They have hassle-free bonuses with a one-time rollover, which means the bonus money is yours after you bet it just one time. Other sites range from 5 to 30 times, so that's a great deal. They also have 24/7 live customer support, so a real person always answers your call, so that's great. And here's the kicker. At sportsbetting.com/Mile High Huddle, you can get a 100% risk-free week of sports betting up to $1,000. I think that's called 1G. I'm not sure. I'm not up to the lingo with the kids. Not just one bet, though, but all your bets. Play for a week, and if your losses exceed your winnings at the end of the week, sportsbetting.com/Mile High Huddle will cover 100% of the difference up to $1,000 with a one-time rollover. So again, head on over to sports betting at www.sportsbetting.com/Mile High Huddle. That's www.sportsbetting.com/Mile High Huddle and capitalize on a risk-free week of sports betting up to $1,000. So also, guys, make sure you find Carl on Twitter at Carl Dumler MHH and myself at Kendell MHH. And if you are joining us today via YouTube, do us a huge favor, like, subscribe, and share our show on Facebook. Click those little thumbs up. Go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and a comment. All that good stuff. And today's show and all the Mile High Huddle content is brought to you also by Sports Illustrated. So, Carl, we're talking the trade deadline today. There's a lot of talk that with the C word in the world right now, on top of the expanded playoff pool, that it might be a somewhat quiet time for the Broncos and the league as far as trades go. We did see some yesterday, but the Broncos hold back and sit back and don't make a move. What are your thoughts on that? Obviously, we thought that would happen, but it's now it's coming past.
Yeah, it's the Broncos are in this weird spot.
Yeah,
they're not out of it, but they're not really in that great group of about 7 teams that you're going, these are the Super Bowl contenders. And these are the teams that should be buying during a time like this. And so to me, I mean, it does, like you said, it doesn't surprise me that the Broncos stayed put. If anything, I thought they might sell off a couple players that just were not playing a whole lot this year and were not going to be a part of the future a whole lot. Deshaun Hamilton might have saved his job with his good game, and of course Tim Patrick being injured. So that might be a big part of it. No, I am not 15 years old today, and I can drink. Yes, thank you. Sorry, a lot of people commenting about me not having the beard. November is the only month I do shave. There you go. That's what's going on here. I'm revolting against this no shave November. It'll be back in December. Don't worry for our playoff push, but. No, really, it is the Broncos maybe could have made a mover here or there just for a 7th round pick, somebody trying to unload something. But with the Broncos being in cash trouble, you don't want to bring on another player that you maybe have to give another contract to or that you're going to pay millions to. If anything, I thought they might be sellers just in trying to get a player that they know they're not going to be able to pay, get something while you can. But at the same time, like you said, the expanded playoff with so many teams thinking that they're competitive, teams were just not offering a whole lot in trades. Even players that thought they were going to get traded didn't get traded this time.
Yeah, I think that, again, coming back to the C word, as we'll call it, so we don't get flagged by YouTube, but a lot of teams, I think, are hesitant to take on contracts of veterans because a lot of teams are going to be dependent on the rollover in the cap, because they're talking about the cap decreasing next year, which I don't know of a time when that it's actually happened. It's been a arrow trending up forever. And that might not be the case next year. You might actually see the cap get smaller. So a lot of teams are going to hold on to that cap space that they have, not looking to bring on 6.5 million Ryan Kerrigan, just as an example, and rather roll that money over. So, I mean, we'll see how it works out. I mean, obviously, maybe the Broncos could have gone for more athleticism at linebacker, maybe another edge rusher, maybe another offensive tackle, or maybe a wide receiver now that Tim Patrick is dinged as well. But like you said, the Broncos they're not in cap trouble. They're in actual liquid cash. They have liquid cash issues on hand. So the ability to have all that cap that they have right now and to roll it over into next year, which is going to be a fair amount that they should be able to roll over. I don't have the exact number, but it's pretty high. That's going to hopefully be enough to offset the shrinking cap and means that the Broncos have more cap to play with next year. And that means maybe guys who some might be thinking are gone. Maybe Justin Simmons, maybe Shelby Harris, maybe Garrett Bowles. Like, you'll have more cap to play with next year, so that way you can keep those guys.
Right. Maybe because of the shrinking cap, teams are not willing to hand out those huge contracts, and you can get them a little bit cheaper. Maybe they might try to do those 1-year contracts, just like Shelby Harris did this year, to try to wait for the cap to go back up next year. We'll kind of see how that all plays out this offseason. It's going to be a crazy offseason. It's going to be tough to tell how that's all going to play out right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got Diamond Rattler coming in. Don't we have like $170 million in saved money that rolls over into next year? Yeah, I think the Broncos do have a good amount of cash that they can roll over, but something that a lot of people, I feel like the average NFL fan doesn't understand. Oh, and Nick, stop drinking. I'm not drinking yet. That's after this. I will be consuming some adult beverages. I just got back from work, guys. But I think that something that the average fan doesn't really appreciate is that the cap number is something opposite of not opposite, but it's different than liquid cash on hand. And like one of the reasons that the Oakland Raiders at the time were pushed to moving Khalil Mack is because they were building that new stadium, a lot of money in that. And they then didn't have enough money actually to pay Malik or Khalil Mack up front, because you have to put all that money in the signing bonus in furlough. So even though the Raiders had plenty of cap space to fit that Mack contract in, they actually didn't have the actual cash to pay him. And that forced their hand to trade him. So again, cap money, the Broncos are going to have cap money next year. That's not the issue. Are they going to have liquid cash that they can spend and put in furlough for those guys as signing bonuses, which are distributed on the cap over the duration of the contract, over the salary cap? But all that money has to be paid up front. So again, I think that's a really important distinction that not enough people appreciate. And it puts the Broncos in a tough spot because they are a cash poor team right now. I mean, the Bolins, this family right now, my understanding is their main source of income is the Broncos. Now, while their profit margins are good because of the Broncos, you have people like Jerry Jones, who's got oil money, or the new Panthers owner who's just, trips over money. He probably wipes his butt with money. That's not the Broncos. And until the ownership situation is settled, that's not going to be the Broncos. Kansas City, another team that has a lot of money outside football. So it's just, I think that maybe it would have been prudent for the Broncos to shop a Shelby Harris or a Justin Simmons if they had no ability or intention of signing them this offseason. Maybe, but after coming off a Chargers win, you're sitting at 3-4 now. You have a real chance at the playoffs. I don't fault them one bit for standing pat. And maybe they get one of those guys back. I just think that we need to have that conversation. That's why you guys are here. We're here to have that next tier of conversation.
Right. Well, and I think you have to also factor in, you want to get more than what you would get for a comp pick for that player.
Absolutely.
So if you think Justin Simmons is going to get that huge contract and get you a 3rd-round comp pick, well, then you need to be asking for more than a 3rd-round pick. Same with Shelby Harris, same with Garrett Bowles, all of those situations, even Phillip Lindsay. trying to figure out what kind of contract to give those guys moving forward. I do think it shows well for the Broncos, maybe being aggressive and trying to get those guys signed. I do know they're talking to both Shelby Harris and Garrett Bowles about trying to get an extension done. So for you guys out there wondering, what are the Broncos doing? Come on, get these guys signed. They are talking to their agents and they want them back, but it takes time. I mean, both sides have both sides are going to play this waiting game. Broncos make an offer. The other side says, oh my gosh, why in the world would you make that kind of offer? Here's our offer. And they just take time trying to sweat the other one out, making them think, okay, oh my gosh, they don't like us anymore. We got to take that lower offer. We got to take that higher offer. It's just part of the game.
And I think it's also important to bring it back to the compensatory discussion to add a little bit more nuance to it. You're not guaranteed that pick either. So if you're banking on a compensatory pick for Justin Simmons, that means you can't sign an equivalent free agent in the offseason. Otherwise, you lose that pick. And there might be, the Broncos might move on from Nick Vannett and Jeff Driscoll still trying to recoup a compensatory pick for Derek Wolfe. So a lot of teams, maybe with the new CBA, we can kind of see it shifting out. But the compensatory formula, team seems to have figured that out. The salary cap at this point is a myth because teams have figured out how to maneuver money. If they are cash-rich organizations, they can just move it around. So it doesn't even really matter, like the Kansas City Chiefs. So again, I think it's important to discuss. I'm glad the Broncos didn't make a move. If they had lost to the Chargers and hadn't made a move, I'd probably be a little bit more upset. But they're right in the thick of things. And we said, I think before the show, it's 7 playoff teams right now, but there's some talk that if more games are canceled, we could see an 8-team per side playoff bracket. Mm-hmm. So, the Broncos are right in the thick of things. Yep. So I think it's important to understand that they have a chance. Teams aren't willing to bite. You have to be able to get something that's worth the player. You're not just giving guys away. And it's not like they had like a Desmond King who's been having issues with the coaching staff there. They're trying to sell in that way. So although I guess Shelby Harris did push Vic Fangio 2 weeks ago. Anyway, but I think that, again, coming off the win, didn't bring a guy in. That's not fun. It's not a headline, but I think it was standing pat was the right decision.
Right. All right, we got Kevin Peterson coming in here with a super chat, and this is so true. Shout out to my boy Buana for all he does behind the scenes. Thanks, bro. Thank you from us as well. We always appreciate that you're there working, reading the chat, getting us all organized, what we need to do, keeping us on task at times. So he's doing a lot more than people ever realize. We really appreciate it. And, of course, Terry Randall coming in. Nice shirt there in the picture. And with the super chat here, hashtag state of being, hashtag beast is the bomb, hashtag MHHUN.
Yeah, and also shout out to Buana's dad as well, who's celebrating a birthday today. So everybody in the chat, maybe make a little cake emoji or something for Buana's dad. So thank you, Buana's dad, for existing, because without you, Buana wouldn't be here. So obviously that's great. So Carl, I think we should talk a little bit about the game on Sunday. The Broncos had 2.5, 3 quarters of abysmal football. I guess we'll call it that. But it's why you play a full 4 quarters. I'm honestly pretty glad that I was doing a hike with the wife during the game to celebrate our 1-year anniversary because I was able to come back to the roller coaster of emotions. And everybody was ready to move on from Drew Lock, and now everyone's back on. It's kind of like just when I thought, how's the saying go? Just when I thought it was over, you pulled me back in. It's like that kind of thing with Drew Lock. So,
right.
And thanks for the anniversary wishes, guys. But I think that we need to take a more wide scope view of Drew Lock's game this week, and why, for me, after watching the game, unfortunately, I'm still in the exact same spot I was coming into the game. I guess I'm a little bit better because that Chiefs game was so bad, but overall, I didn't move much.
Well, it's one of those, if you didn't like Locke before the game, then you point to the first 3 quarters and say, look, this is who he is. If you really like Locke, then you're going to point to the 4th quarter and say, look, this is who he is. If you're kind of in that middle, you're going, this game showed exactly why I'm still in the middle, because there is good. There are great moments with Locke. There are some great throws, tight windows that are just amazing. You're going, oh my gosh, look at this guy. He's got a big arm. He can escape the pocket when need to be. He can make plays off of schedule, all those kind of things. But then you see these others where, like his interception honestly, I think that was maybe his worst interception I've seen.
It was very bad, especially considering. Well, I mean, if they were protecting it, the ones in New England were worse just because situational football. Like this one, they were having to push to try to come back and push the ball vertically. And then that Patriots one, you're trying to finish off a game and they just turned it right over.
Yeah.
So I think situationally, I would say the Patriots won, but as far as like a single Snapchat of a play without the scope of everything else going on, I agree with you. It was a bad read, bad throw. What the hell was going on?
Right. Well, and on top of that, I mean, he stared it down. I mean, the safety,
the whole way.
You usually see a safety flying across the field to go make that kind of play. The safety was just sitting there because he just followed his eyes like, all right, here we go. This is where he's going.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what you saw in the fourth quarter, the big change. I don't think there was much change in the play calling per se. I just think he was doing better with his eyes of manipulating the defense and getting windows open. And he was looking more to the middle of the field. He was actually making it through some of his reads. I saw one of them where he made it. You saw him start to the left, look to the middle, finished on the right.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to see more from Locke moving forward, is that ability to not just lock onto one guy and make it easy for the linebackers, cornerbacks, and safeties to know exactly where he's going with the football.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think my biggest takeaway from that was there was, again, correlate. I'm a statistical nerd, guys, an epidemiologist here, but correlation does not equal causation. That's stats 101. That being said, as soon as Joey Bosa went out, the game really turned quickly, and it looked like all of a sudden Drew Lock wasn't bailing out of the pocket every time. He began to trust his offensive line. The offensive line started playing better, and I think that's something that over time we're going to see it get better. I mean, Jerry Tillery, I know he was your boy. He was having a pretty good game. Melvin Ingram's good game. Joey Bosa, until he was out, good game. But once Joey Bosa was out, and he's the straw that stirs the drink for that pass rush, Drew Lock looked much more comfortable, started going through his reads, and didn't just like all of a sudden start bailing from his pocket at the first feeling of pressure. Sometimes there's not even pressure. He just senses pressure and then bails. So going through his reads, I also think there may be something about the hurry up as well. Just trying to get through things quickly, not time to overthink it and panic.
Right.
But I mean, again, we're hammering a little bit on the negatives. The positives are he made some throws off platform, out of the pocket when it was called for. It's an issue when it's not called for, but when it's called for and he can do that, that's a great trump card. And then he made some throws as far as timing, touch, and placement that were, I mean, you're talking about that's an NFL throw, but there are not many quarterbacks in the NFL that can make that throw. There's a level of arm talent and ability to throw from different arm slots that he had to do to get some of those balls in there. And he did in that fourth quarter. So again, I feel like I'm right where I was because we always knew that Locke had the tools.
Right.
But it's the mental processing within the schemes, playing within structure and being able to get out of structure when you want to, but playing within structure to move the football, and then the mechanics, the base, and all the accuracy that matriculates from that. So again, same place we were. The tools are, for a starter, are absolutely there. The moxie's there, but the overall process right now, it's rough. It's still rough. Needs polishing. Right. We got more games to go, but I mean, it's a good thing that he's not absolutely playing bad, but like if he was playing horribly, we'd know. I just don't think we still know.
Right. No, and that's why, I mean, he's got a 9-game audition to show that he can improve in all those areas. And I mean, I think that's plenty of time to actually know at the end of that 9 games. I know some people are going, he needs another season to really show a regular off season, but I'm kind of going, look at Justin Herbert, look at Kyler Murray. These are guys that are coming in right away. Joe Burrow, another guy that they're coming in right away and they're making it very clear they are the guy. They didn't need another year of seasoning to prove that. They had the same situation as Locke in many different ways. Shortened off season, new weapons for many of them, of trying to figure out how to work with them. So I just don't think that is the excuse that some people think it is. Yeah. When you're seeing others have success, and I know some quarterbacks take longer to develop than others, but in today's NFL, you just don't have the patience at quarterback anymore. I mean, there are rumors right now that Tua Tagovailoa is fighting for his job for the future already. That's why they put him in, even though Fitzpatrick was having a great season.
Well, having 2 first-round picks in a class that looks like that has some quarterback talent is reason to figure out what you have. I mean,
Right.
you need to have some semblance of knowing. And a lot of times, again, it's quarterbacks do take time, but most of the time, based on the early sample size, especially through the first 2 seasons, you should know what you get. Every once in a while, there'll be an outlier, but yeah, that's an issue. So, but Locke had to learn a whole other scheme. Go ahead.
Justin Herbert did too.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's looked like he is the future there for them. He had, for the most part, he looks very controlled. He made a couple mistakes here and there during that game, but that's expected. I don't mind that. It's just he didn't look incompetent for 3 quarters and then all of a sudden show up in the 4th quarter. He looked pretty darn good throughout the entire game. And he's done it multiple games in a row now where he has looked very, very comfortable in what he's doing on the field and the throws that he's making. And so, again, I think we got 9 games. I think that's still going to be plenty to figure out exactly what's going on, who he's going to be, how he can lead this team. And really 2 years of being in the building alone, they should know how hard does this guy work? Does he know his playbook? Does he know what he's doing on the field? I think all those things will play into the final decisions. But really, like you said, this is a pretty darn good-looking draft for quarterbacks.
Yeah. It's we'll see what happens. Also, I was a little bit disappointed. I won't go too far down this rabbit hole and probably won't answer too many questions about it. But after that game-winning touchdown, Locke on the sideline yelling some stuff at the stands was not ideal. Also, but moving on, we should probably shift gears here. We've had the nuanced conversation about Locke, and we're going to have it for the rest of the season. I was fortunate enough to come back to the game, and I'm going to stick by my theme for the whole year. When it comes to Locke, don't get too high, don't get too low. Make sure you're not burying the guy because you have a bias and you want him to fail. Make sure you're not making excuses for him because you want him to succeed. Because otherwise you're getting bias in there and you're going to see what you want to see.
Right.
So, and Locke would look a lot better with Sutton out there.
Yeah.
Hells yeah, because you're talking about a top 10 wide receiver and some of those yellow balls that he's been throwing down the field. Those 50-50s that they call them, they're more like 75-25 when somebody like Cortland Sutton's out there. So actually, I did want to get to this topic because I a little bit near and dear to my heart. I see people are saying bring back Dumler. I see Ernie Mays. It is Dumler. It's his good twin. Somebody else said something like that, but appreciate that. I think it was Kenneth Booker. But Albert Knopper's coming in here. Albert, thank you very much over on Facebook. I hear so much bad and good about Josie Jewell. What do you guys think? Again, this is not a hot takes podcast. Other than running backs don't matter. But Philip Lindsay matters because of his heart. But anyway, Josie Jewell. I'm an Iowa fan. I will give you full disclosure on that. And I try to be very balanced and unbiased when it comes to the Broncos. But when it comes to the Hawks, that's where I can be a full-blown fan. So I've always loved Jewell. From Dakota, Iowa, which is also an awesome town. They got great breweries. If you're ever in Iowa, go to Dakota. Go kayak down the upper Iowa River, get some beer. It's a good time. But Josie Jewell, I think he's been better than I thought he would be this year. He's playing, and you can see the intelligence of his play. My biggest issue is that in space, he's not great. Still, sometimes he looks very slow, cement cleats in space, especially when he has to turn around a little bit or chase somebody. But he's playing his role very well. He's not making many mental errors right now. And overall, I mean, it's been much better than I thought it would be, considering the physical limitations that he has.
Yeah. The other issue that I had, especially this last game, he and Johnson both had this issue. They overran a few run plays, opening up. And they opened up some big holes in that run game. I know I've seen some people commenting about the nose tackle situation. And yes, the defensive line did not have their best game by any means. Sly Williams, some of the other guys, really all of them struggled at times to get off blocks in this past game. And the other thing, they got turned to the side. You like to keep that face up so you can cover the 2 gaps. That's what you're asking your defensive line. Yeah, exactly. All those guys were struggling with that. But also then when your linebackers are overrunning the play, you're opening up those cutback lanes for huge holes just to make it easy for a running back. Bronco fans should understand that all too well because, running that zone scheme for so many years under Shanahan, That's exactly what they banked on, was guys trying to run too fast to the hole, and then boom, got a cutback lane, open, big play. Yeah. And so it was very frustrating to watch that from the Broncos. And like I said, Josie Jewell struggled with it. Johnson has struggled with that more this year than he ever did last year.
Yeah.
I don't know I think he's just trying to do too much. He's doing more than his job requires of him. And when you start doing that, you leave other places vulnerable. Yep. And he's trying to make the big play, and sometimes that's just not going to work well.
Yeah, and my other thing when it comes to Josie Jewell is I think you can get by with him. He's never going to be the focal point of your defense. He's not really a playmaker, but I think he's a smart enough player where he's not going to kill you with mental errors. And in a Vic Fangio defense where communication and cohesion in that back seven is so important, that's fine. That being said, I wish that maybe this is a want, but I also think it's a need with the Vic Fangio match quarters defense playing 3x1s. You need to have somebody out there at linebacker that has a little bit more, let's call them rocket skates. Like right now, Alexander Johnson, he's big, he's physical, great blitzer. I love that element of his game. I love that the Broncos say, hey, you know what? This guy's maybe not the best in coverage, but he's freaking built like a defensive end. Maybe we should use him in the pass rush. And voila, it's worked pretty well. But I would love to have a linebacker that brings a little bit more as far as the sideline to sideline ability and the matching up in coverage than what Josie Jewell brings. And honestly, Alexander Johnson, he's been not as good as last year, like you said. So maybe you're looking for somebody to replace Alexander Johnson down the line. That's a possibility. But Josie Jewell, I think he's been, again, like I said, better than I expected just because of his physical limitations coming into the year. Yeah. But he's not exactly specifically paired with Alexander Johnson, what I would hope for a linebacker. I'm looking for the Roquan Smith. I'm looking for the Fred Warner. I'm looking for the
Devin White.
Although Devin White's more of the Alexander Johnson in that defense for them, where Levante David is more of what I'm talking about as far as the coverage, the weak side guy. So
that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. So I will say Josie Jewell has played better than I thought he would this year.
Oh, absolutely.
He has been, you saw it in that game. He read some plays where his intelligence made up for his athleticism. And he stopped he made some big plays because of that intelligence. And that can get you so far in the NFL. So that's a nice thing that we get to see there with him. But he
would have been incredible in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. He really would have been. But right now, because of those limitations, his ceiling is only so far. Yeah. He has a high floor, low ceiling. And you need some of those kind of players. You're going to have some of those players as starters. You're always looking to upgrade on those players because you like the higher ceiling. And like you said, with the Fangio defense, you need a linebacker that can move around the field, can actually match up in space and handle himself really well. And
we saw it in the Chargers game. I took note of it multiple times where they would flex out the running back. And I think it was a 3rd and 4 or something where they flex out the running backs, and it was Alexander Johnson playing as the farthest defender in coverage. And they just ran a rub route with the slant of that guy. And it was easy. Yeah. Literally didn't have any other read to go to. I have a linebacker as my boundary corner on that play. That's the read. So, obviously that's going to be an issue for most linebackers in the league, but I think to run this defense to the maximum of what Vic Fangio would want, you want somebody with a little bit more athletic tools in space, in coverage. So,
now I will say here about the run game in this past one, it really was just a lot of guys playing out of just getting themselves out of position. Like I said, I think they were just trying to do a little too much, and I'm sure the coaches can get that back under control. I'm not too worried about it. I think they'll do fine. Yes, they are going to miss having a great nose tackle in the middle to really stuff the run there, but they still have enough in their defensive line to make up for it. The problem is that they got a little bit smaller. That's the main issue. Draymond Jones was never known for being a great run stuffer in college. He was more known as the penetrator. You saw it on that, was it 4th and 1 play where he made the play in the backfield? That's what he's known for. DeMarcus Walker, known for trying to shoot the gap, get down the field, not a 2-gapper. So you really got Sly Williams, who's a 2-gapper. You got the other Williams, who's a 2-gapper. I mean, that's more of what they're known for. They're not great at it, but they're known for it. And so then you got Shelby Harris, who last year they tried at nose tackle. It did not look good. He's better at defensive end, where he's got a little bit more space to operate and isn't just asked to kind of hold the middle of the field, that he can get downfield just like he's been doing great at this year. So it's going to be kind of a stop him by committee. And like I said, it's not going to look as good. Anytime you lose a starter, there's a reason that they were the starter over the other person. It's not that your backup's going to come in and be better. And there's not really anybody on the street that I'm looking at and saying, go get that guy.
Yep. I mean, that's kind of the state of where we are right now. So again, the Broncos, they're not killing the Broncos by any means, but if you're talking about a top 10 defense versus a defense that could challenge for the number one, a linebacker like that can bring that ability to the game is something they should look for. And it doesn't have to be a first round pick. Honestly, a lot of times there's not actually that much of a drop off from first round pick at linebacker to day 2 picks at linebacker, but there is a big drop off day 3. So again, something we can look at. I see that are some comments here, but first we're going to get to Kenneth Booker. Thank you, Juan, for pulling that up. What's your guys' favorite beer or liquor? I do like that Coors Seltzer. I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit, I don't know. You guys could say what you want about that, but I know it's starting to be winter too. I don't mind the seltzers, but it's more of like I'm sitting on a boat or outside in the sun, drinking something light, feeling good, wanting those bubbles kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm a liquor guy. I'm not a huge beer guy. I've never been a big. I'm sorry, man. For some reason, all that those bubbles sitting in my stomach, they don't treat me well. Maybe it's I like beer. Beer doesn't like me. There you go. But yeah, I'm a whiskey guy. I go that direction. Straight up whiskey. That's what I'm
not
going
bourbon
for.
Or scotch. Oh man,
Nope.
I do love a good bourbon. I need to find a local distillery out here, but that's definitely going to be good. I mean, I like beer as well. I'm a hophead. Especially the hazies, so good. And it's the Charlie Beagle coming in. Seltzers seem like a scam to me. Just bubbly water. I saw somebody once that was it the White Claw, I think is what it's the one that's called. It's like White Claw tastes like somebody had a fruit salad and burped into seltzer water. I was like, well, you know what? You're not wrong. But so definitely linebackers are interesting. And thank you for that question. I mean, I think there's probably going to be more alcohol consumed today than any days in like the last 6 months and then the next 6 months to come.
Right.
Just based on what I saw on Snapchat and Instagram stories.
Right. You got half the country
very high.
Got half the country celebrating, half the country mourning. Yeah. But anyway, back to football. We'll get into this. Is Barron healthy yet? Him and Kareem popping dudes would be lit. Michael Ludy. I don't know. He's not.
I mean, I guess we need to start disparaging him like we did Bryce Callahan. Whereas, like, does he even exist? Because Bryce Callahan, oh my God, we probably need to talk about him. Honestly, he is playing incredible football right now. I know, I mean, there are some, I wouldn't say limitations. Like, obviously, the boundary corner is going to be more valued in today's NFL. Yeah, Charlie Beagle, good job. Yeah, that's big of you, Charlie. I see you.
Yeah.
But man, he's been incredible. Bryce Callahan, that interception he had, taking the ball away from Mike Williams. I mean, that's big boy football. So, and he took a cut this year to play for the Broncos. So, I mean,
and let me talk about that interception. I know some people got after Justin Herbert and saying, I had one person say that showed he is a low IQ quarterback by throwing that football. No, you got a 5'10" corner going against about a 6'5" receiver that's known as a top 3 50-50 ball receiver. You got one-on-one back of the end zone. You make that throw every single time.
Yeah.
Mike Williams had 2 great catches before that interception. Bryce Callahan just made the play of his career. I mean, Vic Fangio said it. That was the best play that he has ever seen from Bryce Callahan, and he has seen every single snap of Bryce Callahan in his career. So it was.
I mean, I know a lot of people are going to point at Drew Lock and whatnot, but that was the winning play. That was the dagger.
It's the only way the Broncos even thought they had any chance in that game. If they even kick a field goal, that game's over. Yeah. And that was a huge play for the Broncos. And Bryce Callahan, it's not just that one play. He's been playing lights out, and he's been getting better as the season goes on. That's what's been really nice to see. Now that they've been able to mix him in a little bit more in the slot where that's his natural spot, but he's been playing lights out on the outside as well. And I think PFF has him ranked as the number 3 corner. He is giving up a quarterback rating of like 44 when he's targeted.
I also think he's the most targeted cornerback and has yet to give up a 20 as far as giving up plus 20-yard receptions. So like as far as targets per explosive pass given up, he's number 1.
Right.
So, I mean, hats off to him. I know that we definitely poked at him and his ability to not play last season. I knew that there were concerns about the foot when the Broncos even signed him. But man, he's been worth the wait. So everyone, pray to your God or whatever that if Bryce Callahan, just like the Michael Jordan touching the basketball thing, let's do that with Juwan James next year. Please, God, please. That would be so awesome if he could play just even average for the right tackle position. But I mean, that would just, God, night and day. And that comes back to Drew Lock being comfortable.
Right. But no, you're right. It's been huge, especially with Boye down, to have Callahan really step up and be a true number 1 cornerback in the NFL. That has made where they could blitz, where they could actually send these linebackers to help with the pass rush that has been struggling at times this year. I know Reed has 5 sacks now. And Bradley Chubb, sorry, all of a sudden his face. I was thinking his cousin for some reason was stuck in my head. But Bradley Chubb has 5.5 sacks. Yes, those guys have have looked pretty decent at times, but they still had to manufacture pressure with some blitzes. And so having a secondary that's been able to hold up like they have, Ojemudia is another one that has really done better than anybody ever expected for a rookie. And
he struggled this week a little bit. This was probably one of his worst games, but the Chargers have some good wide receivers. And, you expect a little bit of up and down with the cornerback position, especially the 3rd round one. But to pivot on this, I mean, how many teams right now have a better starting 5 at defensive back than the Broncos? I mean, I know that I really try not to be biased here, but when you talk about Justin Simmons, who's obviously really good, there's been some detractors for his play this year. I mean, obviously, I think he's still playing at almost the level he was last year. Kareem Jackson's still really good. And then you got Boye, who's back. You got Michael Ojemudia, who's playing about as good as any rookie cornerback. And Bryce Callahan is playing as good as any cornerback in football. So, I mean, there's probably some that I could hear arguments for, but as far as the starting 5 for defensive back, the Broncos got to be right in there.
Right. No, you're right. This last game really was one of their tougher matchups of the season. Chiefs are right up there, of course, with what they have at weapons, but the Chargers are very underrated with what they have. And those guys, I mean, they gave up 3 touchdown passes, but those were like great passes, great catches. I mean, that pass to Mike Williams with Boye right there. I mean, he was right in coverage. I know some people said that Boye struggled in this one, and he did give up a few catches.
It was the tackling that was left me a little bit. It's like that one, I think Mike Williams had it. And granted, Mike Williams is a big dude, but like he dragged Boye like 3 yards. So that was upsetting. And I don't know if Boye's hurt. I think he's playing hurt. I think it's that shoulder injury was one that he was going to have to learn to play through. I think it's going to be an issue.
I wonder if he's talking about the concussion.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the shoulder.
Well, and it could be the shoulder too, but he'll be in concussion protocol all week. I don't know the severity of his concussion. We'll probably know a lot more probably Thursday of his chances of playing. If he is any kind of participant in practice, good chance he plays.
Yeah. So again, I think that this year has been 2020 in itself has been a year of a lot of upsetting things. And the Broncos obviously are not playing as well as we'd hoped. Granted, 3-4, considering the teams that they've lost to, outside of the. I'm trying to think. I think they should have won that Titans game. God, that was a close one. I'm trying to think who was their other loss. Almost all their losses have been against really good teams. I mean, Steelers, Tampa Bay, blah 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 blah. Great teams. So
Chiefs.
These
Titans.
next two games honestly determine the season, right? Like these are two teams that are not absolutely trash like the Jets, but not, Super Bowl contenders like the Steelers, the Chiefs, the Buccaneers. So win these games, I mean, we're right back in the thick of things, and also not as good of defenses as some of those teams too. So things look okay for overall, and I'm just going to take it as it can because we need some positivity.
Right. No, you're right. And I did want to comment. I saw somebody earlier saying that we're hating on Drew Lock. I just want to point out, saying that he didn't play a perfect game is not hating on Drew Lock. If you call that a perfect game or say that game proves that he is the man and the future for the Broncos for the next 10 plus years, I don't know what exactly you watch there. I like Drew Lock. I think there is high potential that he could be the guy moving forward. I really do. But he has a long ways to go to really prove that he can be that long-term guy. And so, I mean, he's had what, 8-9 games now?
I believe
to his name.
It's 9 or 10.
And he's had, I would say, one outstanding game against Houston, a couple of really good games, like the Detroit game. I thought that was one of his better ones where he stayed very controlled, took what the defense gave him. Honestly, that was probably my favorite game of his.
Pat's game.
Pat's game.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the fourth quarter was bad, but the high level of throws that he was making more consistently.
Right. Yeah. No. So he's had some good ones, but he's had some real stinkers as well.
Yeah.
And so he hasn't shown exactly who he is as an NFL quarterback yet. I just want to make that clear that we're not saying that Drew Lock is done or that he's terrible or anything like that. We're just trying to say he has plenty of things to work on.
Not too high, not too low.
Right.
I mean, take it one game at a time, just like the team does. I mean, we have a full season or half a season left of a sample size, knock on wood, that Lock stays healthy, where we can use to analyze. So he should get that time. He has way more tools than Rippon. And we can put that one to bed. Hopefully Trip Driscoll's out just because I want that comp pick. But there's things to be really excited about.
Right. And I'll say, I think he has proven to at least be the second best quarterback from that class right now. Daniel Jones has been terrible.
On a bad offense, though.
He is, but he still makes mistakes that make you go, what in the world are you thinking? Some of his turnovers are absolutely just really, really bad decisions. I'm not saying that Drew Lock's haven't been bad decisions, but he seems to do it on a more consistent basis than Drew Lock does.
I'm still TBD between those two, and I'll throw in Gardner Minshew as well. But I would rather have Lock because he has more tools.
Right.
Daniel Jones might be a slightly better athlete, though, which is weird. But I mean, I think he was like one of the fastest recorded players on that run where he fell down. But still, that's pretty crazy. So, gosh, I saw some people talking about linebackers. That Notre Dame linebacker who I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce his name unless I had it in front of me. I just got Albert Okwuegbunam down, so come on. But I know that
you need to talk to the announcers of games. That has been a disaster every single week for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. So I see people talking about linebacker here. Got to draft Parsons or Moses with our first round pick. Nick Bolton's another one too that's got some talent, and it's a pretty deep linebacker class as well. So it doesn't have to be a first rounder pick kind of thing. I think there's going to be a lot taken in the top 100 that are going to be pretty darn good.
Right. I like this linebacker class. A lot of guys that I could see the Broncos bringing in, and I still like who they took in this past draft that they didn't get to see.
Jason Strnad.
Yeah,
Justin.
I'd like to see what he can bring to the Broncos as well. I know they were pretty darn high on him, and what he was showing in the few practices that he did get to practice. And so we'll see how that position plays out. There's still a lot of time to figure it out, and but I mean, the guys they have now, they're good enough for this season. But you need to update it. It's
like a Bill Belichick kind of thing where it's more about the scheme than the individual talents. You know, that's Wade Phillips, really good coordinator, but he was at his best when he had Hall of Fame talent and he just let guys go out there and play simple, stupid. You know, like it's just cover that guy, rush that guy. Obviously, I'm really simplifying it there, but I mean, there's much more of the scheme and player intelligence demands in the Vic Fangio scheme, especially in coverage, and we're seeing that. So I mean, Alexander Johnson, Josie Jewell playing good enough. So here we got it. It's Jeremiah. Oh, somebody just commented. How dare you with your super chat? No, I'm just kidding. Jeremiah Owosu Koramoa. So he seems really, really athletic. I do worry that he might be too small is the thing, because in this defense, even though we're moving to more of a 4-2-5 kind of look where that's going to be the new base, you should play 5 defensive backs to take off a defensive lineman or a linebacker. But as far as a linebacker that size, you still got to have guys who can come up and fill and disengage with blocks. So I love the athleticism that he possesses. I'm just wondering if he's going to be more of that, who was that name of that linebacker that Jacksonville took? He's more of that classic Will, I can't think of who it is. It's a linebacker that played for Florida State. Really small, really good athlete. If you asked him to play in the box, just blown off. So we'll see. He's a good athlete. Somebody's going to love him.
Are you talking about Tevin Smith or?
That's it. Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm the one that's terrible with names. I can't believe I actually remembered that one. But Kevin Peterson coming in here with the super chat. Really appreciate it. Loving me some Alberto and DeMar Dotson. Simmons is coming around to all-pro type play lately. Sign number 72 and number 31. Give number 78 another year before 70 kills us. And I can't disagree with really any of that, honestly. DeMar Dotson, for being a guy that was brought in as late as he was, has played at an average level, I would say, for the right tackle position. That's all you need. He has played pretty darn well. This last game was a bit of a struggle just because the Chargers have some good players. But other than that, I mean, he has looked pretty darn decent. And Alberto, this last game made some outstanding catches. That touchdown catch, that's what we wanted to see against the Patriots. I thought the Patriots one was easier than that one.
Oh, it was. Yeah, for sure.
And he came down with it, which is great to see. And it's nice. I mean, we talked about at the beginning of the season that if Alberto has a role in this offense, it is going to be as that red zone guy, because 6'5" can jump over a building, can box out, has some decent speed, especially taking on that seam just like he did on that touchdown. That's what you want to see from him. That's what he is good at right now. And so I'm glad the Broncos are using him to his skill set. And I'm excited to see how he develops. It's nice that the Broncos have 2 athletic tight ends that can really attack a defense in different ways. And I wouldn't mind seeing opportunities where the Broncos put those 2 on the same field and see what they can do together.
I don't know if they attack the defense so much in different ways, so to speak, but they can attack different areas of the field, if that makes sense. So there's a little bit of overlap there as far as the skill set. Yeah. And also, I mean, watching the game, it looks like Noah Fant is still decently, he's in pain. I mean, let's just call it as it is. He's struggling out there. You can see it in his face as far as the pain he's dealing with. But, hats off for him. A lot of people called him soft last year. And there were some questions about that at Iowa as well from the Iowa fans. And some of those people are pretty rambunctious. We'll use that word. But out there playing like he is and making plays. I still think he's their best weapon, or best passing weapon. So we'll see. I think AO and Noah Fant right now, considering the Broncos struggles at 11 personnel, now that Tim Patrick's dealing with a injury, not many teams have 2 linebackers that can cover those guys. I think that's the way to go. Now, granted, you actually run less efficiently out of 2 tight end sets as opposed to 3 wide receiver sets. It seems counterintuitive, but it's actually not about number of blockers on the field. What it comes down to is the number of defenders in the box. There's been a lot of studies done to show that's the biggest factor as far as running the ball efficiently. But still, I think that getting those guys out there, getting Noah Fant and Alberto Kouebanam, if I can say it, I better say it, out there together, I think that's a way to go. And I think it really would help Drew Lock a lot as well.
And I will say I agree. Honestly, I wouldn't mind if the Broncos' entire offseason is just signing their own guys. Bringing Garrett Bowles back, Justin Simmons back, even Dotson, signing him on for another year. I wouldn't mind that as that swing tackle for the Broncos. Phillip Lindsay, I wouldn't mind moving Melvin Gordon's money to Phillip Lindsay. Even though I will say Melvin Gordon, hey, as much as we got after him for the last game, for the Chiefs game, Melvin Gordon had himself some big plays in this one. 3rd and 1 where they had to pick up the first down. He hit a tiny hole, got the first down. That 3rd down and 4 or 5 where he stretched out where they don't have to try to pick up a 4th and short, that was huge. His ability to get out of bounds to save time, again, smart play there by Melvin Gordon. Really made up for what he showed last week.
Yeah, I think there was a pass play that he caught that was a pretty spectacular for a wide receiver one and stretching out and making a play. So also he does bring better in the pass protection area. So you got him. You already paid for him this year. It does seem like his guarantees will be voided because of the DUI, which I'm not sure what that means, what the Broncos will do there. And we'll see what happens there. I mean, I'm not ready to say that's an absolute that's going to happen, but we'll see. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. I think bringing Dotson back, this to me smells of Jared Veldheer, where he's showing he can still be manageable. But I think that because they brought him back, they brought him in so late, I can't see the Broncos valuing him so much. I think they're going to, once again, depend on Juwan James, which is, gosh, everyone hold their breaths. But I think that's the direction they will go. I also think that they will utilize a top 100 pick on the tackle position if possible. It doesn't have to be a first-round pick. It could be a first-round pick, even if that guy is a backup for the first year or the first 6 games until Juwan James is out or something. That's a possibility. It just seems like another position, especially now that they're probably going to pay Bowles as well. You probably should throw another early draft asset at it just to try to tackle it. And that wasn't a pun. It came out as one. But just to try to tackle it. And then you have a guy that you can develop. Not going to depend on year one. And odds are you're going to see him eventually anyways, because that's just how the NFL goes. You need one backup tackle that you're going to probably lean on at some point, a fair amount. And you need a backup interior offensive lineman as well. So.
Right. Well, Andron kind of hitting on same thing here. A lot of draft guys say that Penei Sewell should be the first tackle off the board. There's no should. He will and very much deserves to be the first one off the board. So who do you guys think would more likely to fall to the Broncos with Leatherwood and Cosme? Who do you like more?
That's a good question. I think that probably Leatherwood will be the first one off the board, but Leatherwood might be. The thing I love about Leatherwood is that he's extremely versatile, because if he fails at tackle, he's going to make it at guard. I really do think that. That said, I think Cosme probably has more upside at the tackle position. He's a better athlete. I like them both way more than Walker Little, who I don't like at all. But I also like Jalen Mayfield out of Michigan. I thought he's played pretty well this season. There's a tackle also for Virginia Tech, whose name is escaping me right now, that has been very good as well. So again, we're going to keep tabs on it. This has kind of been a weird offseason, especially with all the different football things going on at different times that they're starting. So obviously this list is going to be cultivated and curated and changed a little bit, but that'd be my my long answer right now is I think Alex Leatherwood, because of his versatility, I like him more. If you're looking for a more high upside tackle, though, I'd probably lean Cosme.
I lean Cosme just because I feel like the Broncos have their interior, for the most part, set. I mean, I know Reisner hasn't been great, but he's getting better now. It seems like these last couple games have been 2 of his probably best games of the season. Cushenberry has been improving as the season has gone on. You just paid Glasgow. There's even a couple younger guys that I like for the backup interior. So I'd rather take a little bit more chance on a guy that's a pure tackle that has really high upside, that has that athleticism. Somebody asked me about him the other day, and I said he is a little bit further along Garrett Bowles in some ways. He sometimes gets his hands way too outside, just like Garrett Bowles did early in his career. There's times where he just tries to do too much, gets himself caught leaning on too many plays. Again, just like Garrett Bowles early on. And this is where I'm going to trust Munchak. Yeah. Just what I've seen from Bowles, I'm going to trust that he can do the same thing with Cosme.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. And there's other names as well. I know that Minnesota has a behemoth right tackle. I actually would be a little bit worried about his size at Denver in altitude, but Daniel Fillell, F-A, I think it's AA, but he's like 6'9", 400 pounds. There's a big tackle at Northern Iowa who's pushing like 340 pounds. It's like 6'9", sometimes maybe too big, but if they're going to go more power than rather this outside zone, which was the scheme with Scangarello, then you can get away with a little less movement for length and power. Another guy that's really gotten some hype is that North Dakota State tackle, Dylan Raddens, and also Jackson Carman from Clemson, I know is one that Eric Trickle has talked highly about multiple times. So we'll definitely see how it plays out. I think they're definitely in the market for a young tackle. And what's great, I guess it's great, is that they have Juwan James. So you don't need that tackle. Probably you don't need that tackle to come in day one and be a contributor. And if that means you have an Andre Dillard situation that's not really working out for the Eagles, but they sat him year one. They had Lane Johnson and Jason Peters. That's not bad. I don't think that's a bad idea. I know a lot of people want that year one impact from a first round pick, but if it's a position like offensive tackle, especially if let's say the Broncos tag Bowles or they have no idea what's going to happen with Juwan James, if that means that Bowles and James are playing great next year and that first round pick is on the bench getting a year to marinate, I have no issue with that because tackle is important and you don't want to be in the situation that they were in again this season at right tackle.
Right. All right. I know some people are going, why are you talking about the draft? We're not the Jets or the Giants.
Sorry, guys. It's building the Broncos. That's what brought Carl and I together. It was the draft.
Right.
We would be messaging each other at like 3 a.m. and my wife would be like, who are you messaging? I'm like, this is the guy I met online talking football with. This is going into the 2016 draft. That's when you and I were differing on Paxton Lynch a little bit. Not to give you a hard time, but
I know, man. I did like Chris Jones though. I just knew we needed a quarterback, and quarterback's more important than defensive line. But obviously you need to find a quarterback that actually knows what they're doing on the field and cares about what they're doing on the field. Yep. And that was not Paxton Lynch. It is. It's built into our DNA. If we get a draft question, we get a little excited, even at this time of year. But we'll move on from that. Kind of talk about the Broncos roster a little bit, just because, we were talking about tight ends a little bit earlier. What do you think about Nick Vannett moving forward? What's his role with this team?
He's essentially the blocker guy. He's the sixth offensive lineman. He can come out and leak out and do some stuff there. But as far as his role, you can't have him out there other than the obvious run plays or the ones where you're trying to force the defense to go base package. Because right now with Alberto and Noah Fant, if they put those guys out there and I'm the defensive coordinator, I'm saying, I dare you to run it. Yeah. I'm going to stay in nickel. I dare you. But with Vannett, I'm probably forced to go to base. So, again, I think he's probably a wash as far as Jeff Hireman. Still don't truly get that move, but couldn't. I think that's what we'd do. And Nick V's role is to be traded. That boat has sailed, buddy. That's what we're talking about today. The Broncos did not make any moves. We got one more coming in from Kenneth Booker before we got to get out of here. Guys, any thoughts on Cush? He gets run over constantly. It was always going to be a process for Cushenberry this year. That was actually a little bit of my concern with him when he was drafted, is that he did get pushed back a little bit. I thought that maybe at the Senior Bowl going against Javon Kinlaw, and he was the only guy who could do anything against Kinlaw there. I thought that maybe there was a little bit more there, but he definitely needs some work in the weight room. He needs some work with leverage. I think he plays a little bit high right now.
Well, he's big, he's tall.
Yeah, he's long-legged.
That was always going to be a little bit of an issue of the leverage when he gets against some of these guys. I keep picturing some of these smaller, quick defensive linemen just really getting under his pads and pushing him back. I will say, though, that the great thing with Cushenberry is you have seen growth. You have seen from week one where he looked completely lost on the field to now he seems to be slowing things down, getting himself under control, and he's getting himself in position. He's still missing a couple blocks here and there. Don't get me wrong. He's not a finished product by any means, and he wasn't going to be this year. But part of what I like is, again, he's developing quickly. And that's why we liked him coming out of the draft, was because he was smart. Everybody talked about how this guy really is just that captain, that leader on the defensive line or offensive line, knows what the defense is trying to do. You saw against LSU, they didn't try to blitz very often because they knew the offensive line could read it and pick it up. And that was a big part of Cushenberry. Sorry, go ahead.
Also, Joe Brady doesn't believe in keeping guys in to block because the more pass options, the better, especially when you have a guy like Joe Burrow who can process quickly.
Right.
But no, sorry, what was the question? I just totally lost it.
About Cushenberry and our thoughts on him.
Yeah, I remember my point now. This will be the last one before you get out of here, guys. But Cushenberry's playing his rookie season. The Broncos, the last great center they had was a good center they had was Matt Paradis. Matt Paradis wasn't even good enough to make the Broncos 53 his rookie year. It took time. He was on the practice squad his first season before coming in and playing well, but still, it took a season of him on the practice squad, working with the strength and conditioning coach, learning the scheme in a normal off seasons, to get to that. So again, it's rookie season, but you just need to have a little bit of perspective how it was always going to take time for him. Obviously, he has some work to do in the weight room, and with his leverage, he needs to be able to sink his butt down, like he's going to take a dump. Obviously, you need to be a little bit more of an athletic stance than that. We still love you guys still in here, but dropping back, sinking his weight so that way he can anchor better. It's just that's been an issue for him. Also, this has been a miscommunication issue, but they've been struggling with some twists, stunts, A-gap pressures, and that also hurts Drew Lock because his biggest issue is feeling pressure up the gut and then sinking out. So it's a circle of misery there, but I think it's getting better. We'll see how it goes. Guys, hopefully everything's getting better on your end too. We're 2020 is coming around the corner, and the Broncos are on a winning streak right now. A winning streak. We could make it 2 in a row. Last time the Broncos won 2 in a row was to close out last year against the Lions and the Raiders. So we'll take it. They got a chance this week against the Falcons, but we got to get out of here. We got things to do. We got lives to live. That's going to do it, though. Find Carl on Twitter at Carl Dumler MHH and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. Go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and comment. Facebook, click those little thumbs up. YouTube, like, subscribe, share. Go over to the merch store. We didn't bring that up today, Carl. We're bad. Chad's going to spank us for that one. Go over to the merch store. Check it out. We're wearing our great hats here. I actually have my – sorry, Carl. I'm really sorry. I have my Mile High Insiders hat here as well. But Carl, in my heart. OG all the way.
That's right.
So also Mile High Huddle is an affiliate of Sports Illustrated. Guys, stay safe tonight. We love you all. We really appreciate that you took a little bit of time out of this crazy day to come talk sports with us. We really appreciate the comment section also not going down that rabbit hole. Really, you guys are the best. I know you're here to hang out with us and to talk with us, but we're here to do that with you as well. So we appreciate it. Stay safe tonight. And as always, go Broncos.